I can't, for conscience sake, issue a same-sex marriage license, and in that decision, I've chose not to discriminate against anyone and just stop issuing marriage license altogether.
Davis stopped issuing marriage licenses following the Supreme Court's decision to legalize same-sex marriage. He's now asking Governor Steve Beshear to call a special session of the state legislature so residents of the Commonwealth could buy marriage licenses online. A spokesperson for the governor says he will have to evaluate Davis's proposal. Governor Beshear did tell ABC 36 that the Supreme Court ruling struck a chord with many people. He says Kentuckians are law-abiding citizens and that only 2 to 3 clerks in the state are refusing to issue licenses. He says he believes in a little time those clerks will come around and everything will work itself out.
My feeling is that we've got a constitutional duty to follow the law, regardless of your personal beliefs. And that's tough for some people. I understand that.
The Family Foundation also has a request for the governor. They ask him to consider an executive order or to call a special session of the General Assembly to protect government workers' rights to religious freedom that is guaranteed in the First Amendment. The group has also announced the newly developed Kentucky Religious Liberty Defense Fund
that will be used for the legal defense of those targeted to have their religious liberties curtailed, and also for legislative measures that will ensure religious liberty for all.
In response to the Family Foundation's request, the Fairness Ordinance of Lexington says the Supreme Court is not dictating anyone's beliefs. They say the county clerks and other government workers have taken an oath and that they should issue marriage licenses to everyone.
You know, all that I think any of us are really hoping for is that, that marriage equality has been handed down.
Doug and Lauren, one neighbor told me that this house has been a source for trouble on the street since she's moved on to the block. Now, the man who lives here was shot this morning around 6:15, and police say it was by someone he knew.
Drugs, prostitution, people traveling in and out of that house all times of the day and night.
That's how one neighbor describes 416 Ash Street, the house where a man was shot Wednesday morning.
I've called police. I've talked to the city because at one point they closed down the house and it was boarded up, but they moved right back into this house.
Police say the man who lived there answered the door to someone he knew, and the person he let in shot him in the back. Officers tell us the suspect fled and the victim went to a neighbor's house who called the police. ABC 36 reported 2 other shootings on the 400 block of Ash Street just this year. On February 10th, a woman was shot in the head in her home on the block, and on April 14th, a teenager was shot in the elbow.
I want somebody to come down here and do something about it because it's not getting any better.
The victim was taken to UK Hospital this morning, and officers say they don't think his injuries were life-threatening. Reporting live in Lexington, Belinda Post, ABC 36 News. Investigators say the old wiring is the cause in an early morning Georgetown fire. It's displaced 10 people from the home behind me, and that includes a little boy named Skylar, who turns 1 tomorrow.
I'm just glad my son was there.
That's the silver lining for Charles Masterson, who says the fire took everything he has.
And my sister's boyfriend wakes me up at like 3 o'clock in the morning saying there's smoke everywhere, and we run outside and smoke everywhere. I ran up here to check everything out, and there's smoke all over the ceiling.
The electricity in his apartment in a home on Bourbon Street went out around 7. So Masterson says he went downstairs to the apartment his mother and extended family share. That's where he was when the fire started.
We've been in this house for like 11 years.
Investigators say it started in the wall in the attic around 3:30. This morning, Masterson went looking for anything salvageable. Stuffed animals, a bright red truck meant as a gift for Skylar tomorrow. But there was only one thing he could save.
Yeah, his first ultrasound pictures and stuff like that.
And for that, Masterson says he's thankful. He says he had a space heater plugged in a few hours before his power went out. Investigators say that was not the cause of the fire. For now, the family's staying at their grandmother's. Reporting in Georgetown, Belinda Post, ABC 36 News. Lakeside Drive has been plowed by the city. Still, drivers for Meals on Wheels can't get up this slope. It's affecting residents here as well as people who take the meals across the city.
you saw people who never saw anybody but you every day. And we'd go in sometimes and talk to them and see how they were doing. And it was kind of checking up on them.
That's how Alice Ochulu remembers her 6 years as a fill-in driver for Meals on Wheels. She lives with her husband of 30 years, Sella, who also was a regular volunteer for the program from 1991 to 96. But today the couple doesn't get around as well as they used to.
I can't drive.
Alice has asthma and trouble standing, and Sella has macular degeneration in his eyes, meaning he is legally blind. Now they need food dropped off to them. That's their normal routine. But due to extreme weather, Meals on Wheels hasn't delivered since Monday.
I haven't seen a car on the street yet.
The food doesn't come on the weekends, so the Ochulus haven't had a drop-off since Friday. The couple's been eating what they've got in the fridge and what Alice's daughter-in-law brought. It's been helpful, but the Ochulus say they depend on Meals on Wheels.
Oh, we cannot still be in our house without them.
Volunteers say they want to hit the streets as soon as it's safe, but driving in this weather has been the biggest problem. Volunteers say that deliveries through the end of the week don't look good, and every day that passes that they don't get to deliver that food stresses them out. Reporting live in Lexington, Belinda Post, ABC 36 News. The Kentucky Housing Corporation has volunteers counting the homeless around the state right now. It started at sunrise and that'll continue for a full day. This video is from the Catholic Action Center when it gave out blankets to the homeless earlier this month. The count helps to determine the state's need for resources for homeless people in each community, as well as how much federal funding will be awarded. In Lexington right now, there are about 50 volunteers going to about 60 places to ask homeless people a few questions. The director of the city's Office of Homelessness says one of their challenges is getting people to open up.
We don't go out with large groups of people or with cameras or any of that kind of stuff, and we try to respect their privacy and their dignity because it's their home that we're going into.
He says in Lexington on any given night, there are 50 to 100 people sleeping on the streets and hundreds more in the shelters. There's another goal of the count. It lets Kentucky know if its programs to fight homelessness are working. Reporting live in studio, Belinda Post, ABC 36 News. The IRS is seeing a surge of scams where people get a message on their phone saying that they owe back taxes, a lawsuit's being filed, and to call back right away. The IRS says that they're just con artists preying on your fears. The IRS warns that there are variations to this scheme. Sometimes a caller will threaten arrest, deportation, or license suspension. They may leave urgent callback requests or use a phishing email. But they're always asking for money or your debit or credit card number to avoid consequences. Of course, this is not the IRS. The Better Business Bureau says that it's just a ruse to get your money.
We advise and they advise, do not return these calls. The IRS will never call you unsolicited. They will send you a letter first. As they say, if you're surprised to be hearing from us by phone, then it's not us calling.
Scammers sometimes change the caller ID number to look like the IRS and even use IRS badge numbers to seem legitimate. The Better Business Bureau says to hang up, don't call back, and definitely do not give any personal information. Now, if you're a victim or you've gotten a call, one thing you can do is call the Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. It's the department looking for information to try and shut down these scammers. Reporting live in studio, Belinda Post, ABC 36 News.